بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الذين يبلغون رسالات الله ويخشونه ولا يخشون أحدا إلا الله وكفى بالله حسيبا. ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين وكان الله بكل شيء عليما. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا وسبحوه بكرة وأصيلا. هو الذي يصلي عليكم وملائكته ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور وكان بالمؤمنين رحيما. تحيتهم يوم يلقونه سلام وأعد لهم أجرا كبيرا. وأعد لهم أجرا كريما. يا أيها النبي إنا أرسلناك شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا وبشر المؤمنين بأن لهم من الله وفضلا كبيرا صدق الله العظيم. तर्जमा समाअत फरमाइए। पनाह मांगता हूँ मैं अल्लाह की शैतान मरदूद से। अल्लाह के नाम से शुरू करता हूँ जो नहायत ही मेहरबान रहमत वाला है। ये सब पैगम्बरान गुज़श्ता ऐसे थे कि अल्लाह के अहकाम पहुँचाया करते थे और इस बाब में अल्लाह ही से डरते थे और अल्लाह के सिवा किसी से न डरते थे और अल्लाह हिसाब लेने के लिए काफ़ी है। मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम तुम्हारे मर्दों में से किसी के बाप नहीं लेकिन अल्लाह के रसूल हैं, सब नबियों के ख़ातिम हैं और अल्लाह तबारक व ताला हर चीज़ को खूब जानता है। और ऐ ईमान वालो, तुम अल्लाह को खूब कसरत के साथ याद किया करो और सुबह शाम उसकी तस्बीह और तक़दीस करते रहा करो। वो ऐसा रहीम है कि वो ख़ुद भी और उसके फ़रिश्ते भी तुम पर रहमत भेजते रहते हैं ताकि अल्लाह ताला तुमको तारीकियों से नूर की तरफ ले आए। और अल्लाह तबारक व ताला मोमिनीन पर बहुत मेहरबान है। वो जिस रोज़ अल्लाह से मिलेंगे तो इनको जो सलाम होगा वो होगा अस्सलामु अलैकुम, और अल्लाह ताला उनके लिए उम्दा सिला जन्नत में तैयार कर रखा है। ऐ नबी, हमने बेशक आपको इस शान का रसूल बनाकर भेजा है कि आप गवाह होंगे और आप मोमिनीन के बिशारत देने वाले हैं और कुफ़ार के डराने वाले हैं और सबको अल्लाह की तरफ उसके हुक्म से बुलाने वाले हैं और आप एक रोशन चिराग हैं। और मोमिनीन को खुशखबरी दे दीजिए कि उन पर अल्लाह तबारक व ताला की तरफ से बड़ा फ़ज़ल है। सदक़ल्लाहुल अज़ीम। वालेकुम अस्सलाम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू।
जज़ाकल्लाह कारी साहब। Next I invite Sayyid Osama Wasim for Naat Sharif.
Salli ala Nabiyyina Salli ala Muhammad Mawlaya salli wa sallim دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم محمد سيد الكونين وثقلين محمد سيد الكونين وثقلين والفريقين من عرب النجم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم هو الحبيب الذي ترجى شفاعته هو الحبيب الذي ترجى شفاعته لكل حول من الأحوال مقتهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم يا ربي بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا يا ربي بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا واغفر لنا ما مضى يا واسع الكرم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Shukriya Qari Sahab. This is the time to start the proceeding of conference. So I invite Chairman Organizing Committee Dr. Masood Umar to come on the stage for donning of the moderators.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Maulana Muhammadin wa alihi barik wasallim. Thank you all for joining in today. Again, apologies for starting very late. Just sometimes things are out of our control, mainly technical hiccups and the fact that we were given the hall very late. And to start a new tradition, I invite President POA Dr. Ghulam Mustafa Qaim Khani to come on the stage, and we will begin with his donning.
New innovations. Thank you very much.
I invite Dr. Harun to come on the stage. Dr. Shoaib, please follow. All moderators of this conference, which equal to about 64, will be donned in this way. Dr. Shoaib. So I hereby declare the conference open and over to my friend Harun Saab.
Thank you, Dr. Masood. So I will take few more minutes to give you an overview of the successive 2 days. This time, this is a total change in the format of OrthoCon. So we have 4 sessions which are copy of the session we will run now. So we will start with state of our lecture, followed by operative techniques by both local and international speakers. So this was a voluntary submission of their technique to us. This will be followed by debate. So each session will have 4 debates. That means we have 16 speakers for 4 debates, and followed by a free paper. So this we will replicate in the afternoon, tomorrow, 2 sessions. So because of this delay, we have skipped rather rescheduled the quiz for tomorrow. So we'll have both quiz tomorrow. So I will request now Professor Tahseen Cheema to please come on stage. So let me introduce Professor Tahseen Cheema. He did his MBBS from Nishtar Medical College, Multan, followed by his residency and further training. In 1973, he went to USA and qualified from American Board of Orthopedic Surgery in 1984. In 1985, he did his CKU in hand surgery. He served on various positions in hospital there. On his return to Pakistan, he joined his parent institute, Nishtar Medical College, Multan, as assistant professor in December 85. Sir Cheema remained supervisor and examiner of MS students and FCPS in Pakistan. He served at many key posts in Journal of Pakistan Orthopedic Association, Journal of American Hand Surgery, American Volume, President, Pakistan Orthopedic Association, Founder President, Pakistan Society for Surgery of Hand, and volunteered medical assistance to the earthquake victim in October 2005. He is author of number of articles in Pakistan as well as abroad. In recent past, he published Complex Injury of Hand by JP Medical Publishers. In August 2004, he was honored with the title of Professor Emeritus in the Department of Orthopedic and Rehabilitation, University of New Mexico, USA. He pioneered hand replantation surgery in Pakistan. Few weeks ago, his long outstanding efforts and contribution to develop extraordinary and the best training center in Bahawalpur, Orthopedic Operating Theatre Complex, has been decorated with his name as Professor Tahseen and Ahmed Cheema Orthopedic Complex. Thank you very much, sir, for giving us an opportunity to start with your lecture.
Thank you, Dr. Harun, for this introduction and kind words. This little delay is actually welcome, that we have some audience. Otherwise, I was ready to talk to you in empty hall. And having Professor Omar, Khalid Aslam, and 2 generals in the audience, what more you can ask for? So I'm lucky in that way. पहली स्लाइड दिखाइए. स्लाइड कहाँ से आएगी? एक मिनट साइड से. Topic for my talk is aging gracefully. I actually gave this talk to our medical college class reunion a couple of years ago. because all of them were of about the same age as I am. And I told them that you people are partners in crime with me in this aging, and we should explore this question together. Today, Professor Omar and Khalid Aslam are my contemporary, so I can say that they are equally partners in the crime. So, question is, aging gracefully, is that really possible? वो उठता हुआ एक धुआं अव्वल अव्वल, वो बुझती सी चिंगारियां आखिर आखिर, क़यामत का तूफ़ान सहरा में अव्वल, गुब्बारे रहे कारवां आखिर आखिर, चमन में अनादल का मस्जिद अव्वल और ग्याहे रहे गुलरखां आखिर आखिर। ये तरकीब ग्याहे रहे गुलरखां इतनी खूबसूरत है कि आदमी का दिल करता है कि ग्याहे रहे गुलरखां बंदा हो ही जाए। This reality sometimes comes slowly and sometimes suddenly, that we have become old. As sobering as it may have been to recognize that our youth has ended, it seems even more difficult for us to recognize that now our middle life is over as well. We have spent our entire life thinking of the aging as others. It comes as a bit of shock to realize that we have joined the ranks. It can be a bit sobering, sometimes even stunning, to realize that there is far less time before us than time behind us. There are fewer full moons whose light we can sit in than full moons whose light we have sat in before. One cannot deny the facts of life. We know aging in the aches of muscles and creaks of bones, in the graying of hair, in the wrinkling of skin, in the squinting to read the small print, and in the increased attention we must put into simply hearing conversations. We know aging in the bodily system that just plainly don't work quite the way it used to be. We know aging in the losses we experience. Our king poet has summed up the condition. ना किसी की आँख का नूर हूँ, ना किसी के दिल का करार हूँ, जो किसी के काम ना आ सके वो एक मुश्ते गुबार हूँ। मेरा रंग रूप बिगड़ गया, मेरा यार मुझसे बिछड़ गया, जो चमन खज़ां से उजड़ गया, मैं उसी की फसले बहार हूँ। The life journey, the priorities do change, but it is a journey of from diapers to diapers, or from dust to dust. मारा ज़माने ने अस्तुल्ला खां तुम्हें, वो वलवले वो जवानी कहाँ गई, वो बादा शबाना की सरमस्तियाँ कहाँ, उठिए बस अब लज़्ज़ते ख्वाबे सहर गई. Our faces are lies and our necks are the truth. कोई आखे ये पीड़ लके दी, कोई आखे ये चुक, विचली गल मोहम्मद बख्शा अंदरों गई ये मुख. वही शोरिश के जैसे मौजे तय नशी कोई, वही दिल है मगर आवाज़ मध्यम होती जाती है. But there are another way of looking at it. Wisdom, resilience, and a mature perspective are often cited as the hard-won prizes of aging, but growing old itself is an accomplishment. If you get to be older, you have survived a lot of threats to your physical and psychological integrity that have affected other people who are no longer around. Through good luck or good genes or both, the old have dodged fatal accidents like me, premature disease, and other things that kill the young. You are stronger and you get to live longer if you are old. I don't want to fight the gravity of the aging, it's nature's way. I want to collaborate with it as best as I can in hope of going down with something like the grace of that setting sun. For all the wrinkles and the worry lines, it's a lovely thing simply to be one of those who lived long enough to say, I am getting old. This is the question you have to decide. Is it a summit time or bottom time? As the physical dimension of life diminishes, the spiritual dimension commonly increases. The mental and spiritual attitude we bring to these challenges that really determine who we become as we advance from one stage of growing older to the next. So that is the question we want to explore this morning. Old people comes in two flavors, the sour ones and the serene ones. The sour ones are angry at the world for dismissing them from the rank and file of those who run it and control it and own it. They demand the rest of the world seek them out, pity them, take their orders, stay captive to their skulls. The serene ones live with soft smiles on their aging face, a welcome sign to the world of what it means to grow old gracefully. To have the grace of the old age, they require us to go on growing more and more into ourselves as we age. It is of these that Meridel Sauer, who lived to be 96, wrote, I'm luminous with age. Luminous, not painted, not masked, just luminous. Is this dying time? Is it only about waiting to be gone? And if so, how can we possibly face it with any kind of joy, any kind of dignity? Look at different stages of your life. Each stage has a central purpose. Like in childhood, central purpose is growth. When you are a young adult, central purpose is to learn life skills. Then come your middle years. Using those skills, you achieve whatever you are capable of. What is the central purpose of this twilight zone, your old age? Let's explore that. This is a time from getting to letting go, from investment to divestment. We know now is that whatever we have managed to accumulate at the end of the climb is just about all we ever get. Did we succeed or not? We have to answer ourselves. The grade we get in living is not given by someone else, as it was in the course of the earlier achievements. This time we have to grade ourselves. The question now is, how and by what measure do we decide if our life has been a success? That is the question. This is a period when we evaluate everything we have come to know about life and look for a dimension above the things of this world, for the sake of what is yet to come. The search means then that we strip ourselves of whatever it is we have accrued until this time in order to give ourselves wholly to the birthing of the person within. Into this life, into this part of the life, we should travel light. है ग्रां सैर गमे राहला उजास से तू कोह दरिया से गुजर सकते हैं मानिंद नसीम. It's what's inside us, not what's outside us, that counts. It's what we learn along the way, what we meant to other people along the way, what we became inside along the way. That is really who we are. Age brings diminishment, but more than few comes with benefits. I have lost the capacity for multitasking, but I have rediscovered the joy of doing one thing at a time. My thinking has slowed a bit, but experience has made it deeper and richer. I'm done with big and complex projects, but more aware of the loveliness of simple things. Like a talk with a friend, a walk in the woods, sunsets and sunrises, a night of good sleep. This is the time we can have a broader view and longer view. Azal iske piche, abad samne, na had iske piche, na had samne. At times lengthens like a shadow behind me, and the time ahead dwindles. My overriding feeling is gratitude for the gift of life. Above all, I like being old because the view from the brink is striking. A full panorama of my life and a bracing breeze awakens me to the new ways of understanding of my own past, present, and future. Out on the edge, you can see all the things you cannot see from the center. To live a life an elder is to ripen into being that is more than simply elderly, more than just old. If we do not become the elders of our time, what was the spiritual purpose of all our earlier life? So this is the answer to that question, that what is the central purpose of this twilight zone? The service of the elder is not always service of labor. It is a service of enlightenment, of wisdom, of discernment of spirits. Only the carriers of generation past can give those things, because wisdom is what lasts after an experience ends. We cannot expect wisdom as a wholesale item of the young, because they simply have not lived long enough or through enough to have been able to amass much of it. This is the time where you should sharpen the saw to make your senior years more useful by preserving and enhancing the greatest asset you have, and that's you. It's renewing the four dimensions of your nature: physical, spiritual, mental, and social or emotional. These are the four dimensions which you have renewed in a way. This comes from Covey's 7 habits. First is physical dimension. This is, you all know more than I do. Health of body is important, and principles are simple: eat well, exercise well, sleep well. But some things are out of our control and probably controlled by genetics or circumstances. More important thing is mental dimension, health of mind. For that, you should read classics, literature, poetry, history, religion. Pursue some artistic hobbies. Keep learning something new. अभी जनरल हफीज साहब कह रहे थे कि वो flying सीख रहे हैं. That's a great thing. Something learning new is always rejuvenating. Why you should read? To avoid mental bankruptcy. All men die uneducated, but at least we will not feel quite so lost or bewildered. We will understand something, not much, but something, of our position in space and time. We will know how we got the ideas by which we unconsciously live. Models of the high thought and feeling, that's my great men, you will find only in books, rarely in life. The person who doesn't read is no better off than the person who can't read. Write. Writing is one of the most powerful ways of sharpening the mental saw. Keeping a journal of our thoughts, experience, insight, and learning promotes mental activity, exactness, and context. Writing good letters, communicating on the deeper level of thought, feeling, and ideas rather than on the shallow, superficial level of events, also affects our ability to think clearly, to reason accurately, and to understand effectively. Dr. Brigadier Munir Cheema retired as one example. He has just recently written 2 very thoughtful books. One is Rambling, his general kind of autobiographical account, and one is about death. Very thought-provoking books. So that's an activity which will keep you usefully employed. And keep doing things you like to do. Don't give it up. If you are physically capable, you should keep doing it. Other dimension, that's the social or emotional dimension, or reaching out, the relationship. Relation are the real life. First people first, then money, and then the thing. That should be the order, especially with the family and the friends. Relationship are the real alchemy of life. That's what makes life worthwhile and meaningful. Actually, this is a time when you have time to spend meaningful moments with your good half and have time to enjoy their company and understand them. Before, probably that luxury was not even available. No matter what you have done for yourself or for humanity, if you can't look back on having given love and attention to your own family, what have you really accomplished? So that's important. Now, the third dimension, reaching in your own self, that is the spiritual dimension. Become comfortable with the self we are rather than to more what we are not. This is too late. We have to live whatever we are. The great Imam Ghazali said, never have I dealt with anything more difficult than my own soul, which sometimes helps me and sometimes opposes me. Most important battles are fought in your own heart. Mera dil, meri razmgahe hayat, gamanon ke lashkar, yakin ka sabat. That's where the real battle is fought. और उसमें दुआ करते रहना चाहिए. अल्लाहुम्मा इन्नी अस्अलुका कल खुदा वत्तका वल अफ़ाफ़ वल गनी. Oh Allah, I ask you to bestow me with guidance, God consciousness, purity and independence. क्योंकि उसकी मदद के बगैर ये जो अंदर का सफ़र है वो तय नहीं हो सकता. This is our moral obligation to stay as well as we can, to remain active, to avoid abusing our bodies, to do the things that interest us, and to enrich the lives of those around us. Our spiritual obligation is to age well, so that others who meet us may have the courage, the spiritual depth to do the same. But just being busy is not enough. This is a great quote by Socrates. Beware of the barrenness of a busy life. This is the same thing what Quran says, Al-Hakumut Takasur Hatta Zartum al-Mukabr. You keep running until you fall in the grave. So being busy, just busy is not enough. Grace comes from a meaningful life. Happiness and well-being is directly linked to a commitment to a cause or purpose beyond yourself. Fundamental core values, largely religious and spiritual, are the ultimate source of deep-seated purpose and meaning. Despite the chaos and complexity of our life, there is a need for a sense of connectedness and purpose in events of our outer lives, for our inner lives to have a harmonious connection to a higher source of meaning and value. We are lucky that one avenue is available for our inner improvement, that is teaching and mentoring. Teaching is one of the primary means by which we develop others. One of the biggest joy in unleashing human capability in our colleagues, residents, and students. A good mentor must be more than a coach, than a chauffeur. Someone who helps the mentee to become a competent navigator in his or her own right. Share your fundamental values, not just techniques, your fundamental values and conviction with your students and mentees. Gift of time, wisdom, and self are free. Return for the teacher in the form of feeling of fulfillment are enormous. It is always a two-way road. Education is simply the soul of life as it passes from one generation to another. नए दीवानों को देखें तो खुशी होती है. नए दीवानों को देखें तो खुशी होती है. हम भी ऐसे ही थे जब आए थे वीराने में. So be kind to your trainees and your fellows and your residents. As elders, we know, or should know, that we have gifts to offer the young. In many cases, we have been where they are and done what they are doing now. We have fallen down and gotten back up, learned from our failures, lived to tell the tale, and gone on to get a few things right. When the moment comes to share our stories with the young, we can help them find their way through the thickets of life and work. When I help the young people to flourish, they return the favor. It's always a two-way road. They help me also. This is the time to pass the baton. Have you seen the relay race? As the new runner comes, you have to pass the baton to him. It's like a runner passing a baton in a relay race. Each generation is responsible for passing along the baton of faith. We can't drop the baton. Transferring the baton in a race is typically blind. The outgoing runner reaches a straight arm backwards when they enter the changeover box or when the incoming runner makes a verbal signal. The outgoing runner does not look backward. It is the responsibility of the incoming runner to thrust the baton into the outstretched hand and not let go until the outgoing runner takes a hold of it. So that's the spirit of passing responsibility to the next generation. This is very profound. First, I was dying to finish my high school and start college. Then I was dying to finish college and start working. Then I was dying to marry and have children. And then I was dying for my children to grow old enough so I could get back to work. But then I was dying to retire. And now I'm dying and suddenly I realize I forgot to live. Please don't let that happen to you. Appreciate your current situation. Enjoy each day. To make money, we lose our health. And then to restore our health, we lose our money. We live as we are never going to die, and we die as we have never lived. This serenity prayer, that has helped me a lot in my life. There's a Stoic philosophy that, oh God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, to courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. With the old age, I'm complaining less and less. Grace in aging is dependent upon our own intention. The grace in aging comes from the perspective that with outer vistas closing as we age, we do well to recognize that inner vistas, peaceful and joyful, beautiful, beyond imagining, can open. The greater affair of the love affair with life is to live as variously as possible, to groom one's curiosity like a high-spirited thoroughbred, climb aboard and gallop over the thick, sun-struck hill every day. Where there is no risk, the emotional terrain is flat and unyielding. And despite all its dimension, valleys, pinnacles, and detours, life will seem to have none of its magnificent geography, only a length. It began in mystery, it will end in mystery. But what a savage and beautiful country lies in between. But it's a difficult task. दाम हर मौज में है हल्का ए सद काम नहंग, देखें क्या गुजरे है कतरे पे गौर होने तक. The second part of the talk is specifically related to orthopedic surgeon, aging orthopedic surgeon. And usually question is, when a surgeon should retire? Is it age-based, a fixed age? In the United States, mandated retirement on ground of age alone is illegal, based on Age Discrimination in Employment Act of 1967. Retirement age of British surgeon is 60 from the institutional practice and 70 years from private practice. In Pakistan, 60 in government sector. For Pakistan Medical Council, in private medical college, after 70 years, they don't recognize you as professor. And no mandated age in private practice. There's nobody to tell you that you should stop. You have become dangerous. And when there are no boards, no committees, no check and balance, that's a dangerous situation. But mandatory retirement based on just age does not fit well with the universally accepted understanding that onset of cognitive or physical decline is a physiological process occurring in different individuals at different rates, not a light switch that turns off at a specific age. As the surgeon ages, knowledge and experience remain for a long time. First to go is strength, then eyesight, then dexterity, and finally cognition. Knowledge and experience and reputation can compensate for a long time. The declines are gradual. The surgeon and his or her colleagues may not notice the change until the deficit becomes serious. You should recognize that nobody is immune to aging. Only wine and cheese improve with age, not the surgeons. Is there any age beyond which surgeon's age becomes an acceptable part of the risk of surgery? Surgeons do age. Everyone ages. What's the problem? Problem is the welfare of patient is involved. Observation during daily living discloses that with advancing age, human physical prowess declines. For a while, advancing age is accompanied by increasing wisdom. However, eventually even mentation declines. Is there evidence that increasing age of the surgeon makes difficult surgery more difficult or risky surgery riskier? And answer is yes, there is evidence. What is the part of decline? One is physical and other is mental. Physically, your vision, hearing, motion, dexterity, reaction time, endurance, all are affected with age. This is the 90s. These are exception, 96-year-old Russian surgeon still operating. Knowledge. When you look at it, when we were trained, the whole training was a 3-year. Now it's mostly, in most of places, it's close to 5-year. Quantity of education has increased with the time. We were trained in the era when quantity of education was little more limited. The more we age, more we are remote from our educational experience. Whatever we learned then, a lot of that has become obsolete. To generalize, older a certain age, more likely it is that he or she is remote from his or her initial education in his or her specialty. Also, it is difficult to teach old dogs new tricks. A lot of things have come on the scene which were not part of our training. Like arthroscopy was just being introduced when we were in training. Major pelvic and acetabular fracture treatment has been revolutionized. Orthopedic oncology, revision orthoplasty, microsurgery, modern spine surgery. It would be difficult for people of my age to learn all those things at this age or keep up with the modern developments. This is a well-quoted article by Chaudhary and colleagues. This study did not consider surgeon, all type of physicians were included. This was a systemic review of all the paper, almost 250 papers. Of the articles found, half, about 52%, reported all measures of quality of care declining with increasing physician years in practice. For the other half of the article, results were less clear, but only 7% reported increased quality of medical care with increasing years in practice. This is always a debated question, experience versus skill. Closely related to the problem of remoteness of education is the need to maintain old skills, develop new skills, and grow through experience. It is widely agreed that most surgeons reach their peak of overall performance around the second half of fifth decade. For the next couple of decades, growing experience can and does more than compensate for the diminishing physical skills. For each decade, there is a different order of your attributes. In the third decade, let's say you have a lot of energy, probably less knowledge and lesser skills. In next decade, you have a lot of knowledge, somewhat lesser skills, and judgment might be remote. In the fifth decade, you are probably at the peak of your skills, knowledge, and judgment. Then in the sixth decade, your judgment probably remains. Slowly, your skill and knowledge becomes remote. Physical skills started deteriorating before the cognitive skills. Cognitive decline, there's a question of reactivity, attention, and ability to focus, numeric recall, verbal memory, visuospatial facility, reasoning, mental calculation, all start declining. The picture on the right, we all have been in that situation. An elderly surgeon, after a day performing surgery, turned to his younger colleague and asked, "Bill, take me to my office. I don't know where it is. We have been in that situation. This is another well-quoted paper on this subject. They compared aviation and medical training. They developed a series of tests together named the microcogs, designed to detect impaired components occurring in a physician's career. The data shows a decline in overall microcog scores for older physicians, not necessarily surgeon, but working and retired. At all ages, but especially at older age, retired physicians score lower than the working physician. But what makes the question difficult, there has not been any showing that a good score on the microcog correlates with good performance of surgery, or that a low score on microcog correlates with incompetence or lack of skill. These correlations may exist, in fact, but they have not been demonstrated to exist. Why is the surgeon the last to know when it is time to retire? There are many reasons. Self-esteem. Because being operating surgeon or losing that capacity is almost equivalent to being impotent. That's part of our self-image. There's a fear that if I don't operate, what I will do. There's a resistance to change, a lifestyle or a mental style we have become used to. We are surrounded by adoring fans, our residents, students, junior, and flatterers. They keep boosting our ego. And that is almost addictive. But two things are important. There's lack of forethought and planning. Not many of us do serious thinking about planned retirement or planned aging. And not many of us have other avocational preoccupations. So that fear is there. If I'm not operating, what I will do? This is a quote from great physician William Osler, that there's no sadder picture than a professor who has outgrown his usefulness, and the only one unconscious of the fact insists with a praiseworthy zeal upon the performance of duties for which the circumstances of the time have rendered him unfit. We don't want that to happen. This question of retiring at a proper time has been addressed a long time ago also by Thomas Percival, addressed the duties of physician to retire, stating that physicians should consider retirement when experiencing the wanted confidence of their peers. Medicine is a fiduciary profession, and it is the duty of each practitioner to give up the task when his or her skills have deteriorated. How to recognize this point may constitute a significant problem, especially in our setting where there's nobody to tell you, कि साहब जी, जान दो, काफ़ी होगी. Honest, balanced surgeon apprehensively await warning that they say this was not an impeccable performance. All of has experience. अगर केस अच्छा नहीं गया तो रात को आपको अभी भी नींद नहीं आती. And when the warning arrives, they become demons of the night. At first, while you are sleepless, staring into the dark, they will be a secret that you will keep from your wife at your side, but soon she will know. Question is there life after operating room? Yes, there are good examples. Dr. Skank, my mentor, I did my fellowship with him. He's 90 plus. He's still very active in his retirement year. A few years ago, he drove 10,000 miles from London to Mongolia to deliver an ambulance. Just a few weeks ago, he was traveling in Portugal, exploring history. In our own surrounding, there are people who are epitome of grace in their advancing year and their retirement. Professor Nasir Saab, Professor Aftab Saab. I won't mention Professor Umar because I still think, like myself, he's still young. But greatest example was Qazi Saab, a walking example of grace in senior years. I'm thankful to Dr. Anis Bhatti. He took me to his residence just a couple of months before he passed away. I mean, he kept him usefully employed, will come to all the conference, take part in teaching, will provide a role model. Great example of grace in aging and retirement. Prepare yourself for retirement. Where do I find my identity or self-worth? If it's only my profession and surgery, is that all? Then there is a difficulty. You have to find other identities. There is life and value beyond surgery and your present career. Focus on what you want to accomplish in next 2 to 3 decades and not what you have accomplished in last 3 or 4 decades. Try to differentiate between wisdom and knowledge. Be careful not to confuse the both things. Knowledge is learned, whereas wisdom is attained. Wisdom is power to see and inclination to choose the best and highest goal together with the surest way to attain it. You have been given gifts other than your professional skills. You are not the only surgeons. You are more than that. Explore them, use them, share them. That is why they were given to you. Consider ways in which you can share both your wisdom and knowledge with others. Professional transition. Accept the fact that you are aging and you might not be the surgeon that you were 20 or 30 years ago. This is one of the most difficult areas to address as you approach retirement. You might have already recognized this, but not mention it to anybody, thinking it has gone unnoticed. The natural process of aging is not a bad thing, but it is one that should be acknowledged. Appropriate modification in your personal and professional life may be in order. The decision to retire takes honesty, self-awareness, and no small amount of humility. Figure out how to slow down. All of us have lived lives that are very full and for most part focus on our profession and family. It is important that we figure out how to taper our schedules. Balance is an important concept throughout our career, one that is best established in the beginning, but is no less important at the end also. The one freedom that we can never take away from us, that always remains, is the freedom of to determine our attitude to our circumstances. That's a great quote from Viktor Frankl. He was a victim of Nazis' incarceration. Life in the operating room is, after all, a strange life. The OR is a stage on which surgeons perform in the spotlight while exercising unquestioned authority and marshalling the talents of many individuals who are dedicated to facilitate his work. The OR is also a haven where the cares of the outside world don't intrude. And that's addicting. We have spent our life there. The transition from one phase of life to another is always smoother for those equipped in advance with relevant information and realistic expectation. Financial planning is one big thing in planning for retirement. Plan ahead. To be able to maintain, you should be able to maintain a lifestyle that you are used to without a regular job. But be moderate in your goals. You don't want to be like a dog chasing a car, all that in for the chase without any idea what to do when you catch it. In retirement, there are certain issues specific to surgeons, like loss of purpose, loss of status, loss of routine, loss of so-called busyness, health and vitality, loss of companionship. That's part of the profession. But there's another set of problems, probably ignored, that's at home. Your wives are not used anymore to have another baby all day at home. They have, in the 25, 30, 50 years, they have planned their own life. There would be loss of space, loss of freedom, loss of leisure for them. And by your presence at home, they might have to give up a job and they will lose the job satisfaction. So that is one thing you have to take into account. In life, we all have an unspeakable secret, an irreversible regret, an unkept promise, an unheard request, an irreparable loss, an unreachable dream, an unforgettable person we still love. Life is about being happy and anyhow, because in life, everything can be summed up in just 3 words. It goes on. This is the last advice: die empty. Do not go to the grave and carry inside you the best that you have. Always choose to die empty. The true meaning of this expression is to die empty of all the goodness that is within you. Deliver it to the world before you leave. If you have an idea, perform it. If you have knowledge, give it out. If you have a goal, achieve it. Love, share, and distribute. Do not keep it inside. Give it to the next generation. The evening of the well-spent lives brings its own lamps. So, message for the surgeon. The surgeon's skills will fade. Planning may make a retirement quite satisfying, and retirement does not have to bring the loss of all self-worth and an imminent death. In the end, I would like you to join me in this prayer. या अल्लाह मेरा रिस्क खूब फराक कर देना मेरे बुढ़ापे में और मेरी उम्र के ख़त्म होने के वक्त और मेरी उम्र का बेहतरीन हिस्सा इसका आखिरी हिस्सा करना और मेरा बेहतरीन अमल मेरा आखिरतरीन अमल करना और मेरा बेहतरीन दिन वो करना जिसमें मैं तुझसे आ मिलूँ. थैंक यू.
इसके बाद आपकी टॉक है इसके बाद आपकी टॉक है आप करना चाहते हैं
जैसे कहें.
So, after hearing a meaningful talk by Professor Cheema Sahab regarding graceful aging, I will request him to stay on the stage for his talk regarding politicization. Professor Cheema Sahab.
And the focus of the talk is on technique. So we'll skip the theoretical and philosophical out of it. Index politicization, one of the most beautifully conceived operation. Took almost 100 years to perfect it. It's making a thumb out of index finger. The first real politicization was done by Gosset, 1949, though there were other techniques which existed before that. The basic concept is moving the finger to the position of thumb, recessing it, making it shorter, where MP joint of the finger will become the CMC joint in its new position, PIP joint of the finger will become the MP joint, and DIP joint will become the IP joint in new situation. 3 people have the most significant role to develop this procedure and to make it perfect. Bunnell, Littler, Buck-Gramco. So we have our gratitude to these 3 joints. It would be easier to understand the procedure if you take it in 5 steps: incision, neurovascular island flap dissection, recession and rotation of the index finger, tendon and muscle adjustment, and closure. In raising neurovascular flap dissection, there are 4 aspects of dissection: volar, dorsal, radial, and ulnar. If you perceive the procedure in this sequence, this otherwise is a very complex procedure, this will start making sense. Incisions are many. According to the situation, in traumatic situation, this literal incision works well, where you make a racket shape incision at the base of the finger and incision at the receiving place and connect them with an oblique incision. But in congenital situation or aplasia, the 2 popular incision which have used over the period of time is Buck-Gramco incision, where there is a dorsal flap which is